Hi, my name is Kristina Strickland. I'm the managing partner of Rally Wealth and Benefits. So you think that you know how much you're going to need in retirement, but have you really considered all of the different factors? Let's take a look at the hidden risk in retirement and things that people often miss when they're planning for retirement. There are a lot of hidden risk in retirement that I don't think people think about when they're getting ready to retire, when they're in the several years leading up to retirement and the first few years of retirement. Because quite frankly, just life, right? We all experience when we're younger, we think we know how things are going to go. And then as we get older, we gain more experience, we live through more things, and we learn, hey, I thought life was going to go like XYZ, but maybe it's more ABC instead. And so some things that people don't think about that I wish they did, and that I love my job because I get to see what people go through and I get to pass that knowledge on to others, is the first and foremost is long-term care. Statistically speaking, I don't know the exact statistics, but anecdotally I do know that you're gonna need something. For the average couple, one of you is gonna end up in long-term care. I will say, I've noticed in the 13 years that I've been here at Rally Wealth and Benefits that men tend to not need long-term care as long as women. That's just something I've noticed through the years of working with people. I don't have any like actual data to share with you, just life experience. And so what I want to think through is when you're planning for retirement, what is the plan for long-term care? How are you going to pay for that? And it could just be that you have enough in your portfolio that that's just part of the expenses and you're going to handle that when the time comes. There are other ways. Individuals could buy standalone long-term care policies. There are other investments that include long-term care riders or long-term care provisions. So as you're evaluating retirement and you're thinking through long-term care, there are a lot of avenues that can be explored. The other one that I think a lot of people are aware of, but you can't predict as much, is inflation. And what I mean by that is, in general, I think we all kind of assume somewhere between 2.5% to 3.5% inflation, because historically speaking, that's a pretty good average. But here's the thing that I don't know that people are aware of or think of as much. Inflation to specific items. For example, do you drink milk? Milk, ironically, inflates a little bit faster than the rest of groceries. There's also things that are situation specific. So take, for example, COVID. I don't know about you all, but I was not like a home ec professional before COVID, and I'm still not. But during COVID, we all had all this time to socially distance and kind of hang out in our houses and explore new hobbies, right? Which I'm grateful for because I developed new hobbies. But one of them was baking bread. I don't know if any of you paid attention to this, but the price of yeast was like through the roof during COVID. And I think it was a result of all of these people were at home, socially distancing, developing new hobbies. And I guess we all had the same idea that we were gonna start making our own bread, sourdough, whatever we were doing, we were all buying it. So that supply and demand was a lot higher for specific items. Gas is obviously a huge one. Healthcare tends to inflate much faster than the rest of the world. So as we're thinking through retirement, just be aware of inflation. And again, it's one of those things that we can based on historical data. But the reality of the situation is none of us have a crystal ball. No one can say, yeah, I really love to drink 2% milk with my cereal every morning and I know how much that's going to cost in 15 years. We don't. But we do know it's a factor that we need to consider. Another type of thing is lifestyle. Here's a funny story that I heard the other day. I had a conversation with someone, not a client of ours, just coffee shop conversation. And this individual was working on their retirement projections. And we just got to talking and they said, I make $80,000 a year right now. And I said, okay, that's great. What are you going to do in retirement? And they said, well, I think I spend right now about $5,000 a month. So this individual thinks they're spending about $60,000 a year just in, housing, utilities, groceries, things like that. And they said, but when I retire, I'm only going to need $2,500 a month. And I said, oh, where's the other $2,500 going? Like, are you paying off your house? Are you not going to eat? What are you doing? And they said, well, I just don't think I'm going to spend as much. And I said, okay, so here's the thing. You don't just live a certain lifestyle for the first 60 years of your life. Or maybe you had a different childhood or a different young adulthood. But in the last 10 years, maybe you've developed this lifestyle of, We go out to eat, we go to baseball games, we take vacations, maybe we lavishly celebrate holidays and birthdays, whatever your lifestyle is, right? It doesn't drastically get cheaper just because you retired. In fact, I would argue it probably gets more expensive because you know what happens in retirement? You don't work. What are you doing during those hours? Now, you could be spending those hours reading, fishing, taking hikes, doing things that are in nature and out in the world, which is great because you're active and you're getting sunlight, and those things tend to be a little bit cheaper, right? But you could also be spending those hours shopping, going out to eat with friends, catching up with people that you didn't have enough time to spend time with during your working years. And so I just want to point out, you don't normally live a pretty comfortable lifestyle and then all of a sudden, because you're not working, just drastically change your life. And so really take a look at how you're spending your dollars and flow through what of those spending habits of those dollars are still going to exist in retirement. And then add to that, now I've got probably 40 more hours a week of free time. What am I going to do during that time? And again, it doesn't always equal money. You could be volunteering. You could be doing things that are free. You could be, for the first couple of years, probably just doing projects that you've been waiting for forever because you never had time, right? But at some point, there's going to be hours in a day that you're gonna want to fill. And for some people, those hours in the day equate to spending more money. And there's nothing wrong with that if you've accounted for it and you've planned for it in retirement. The other thing is family needs. This is a big one and it's kind of a touchy one because there are often people I work with and people we meet at Rally Wealth and Benefits that had a retirement plan based on what spouses need. You know I need this, I know my husband needs this, or I know my wife needs this, my partner needs this, whatever that is. But here's the thing, there are a lot of retired people that are also helping children financially, helping grandchildren financially, helping nieces and nephews financially. And so again, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It just needs to be part of your retirement projection. So maybe as we're building your plan, you think through, hey, look, I'm probably going to need, I don't know, $2,500 a year to just help my kids out. Or I'm probably gonna need to buy my granddaughter a car when she turns 16. It doesn't matter, there's no judgment. It's just, let's make sure that's part of your plan. The last and final thing that I think is a big one is health concerns. Even before retirement, I'll use myself as an example. I took my daughter to the doctor yesterday. She sees a specialist for one of her health things that's going on. And we went in yesterday to check in just for lab work. We're just checking in, they're just doing some lab work. And she says, hey, we've got a bill on your account. It's $1,300. And I'm like, I haven't even gotten a bill in the mail. What are you talking about? And she says, well, it's for your visit 3 weeks ago. She says it's $1,300, but if you pay it all today, it's only I think it was like $960 if I paid it all today. That's a $340 difference. Yes, I'll pay it all today because I'd love to save $340. But here's the thing. Those things happen in retirement also, right? Even if you're on Medicare. Or even if you have a supplemental insurance policy, you may still show up to the doctor and be expected to pay a certain amount of dollars up front for either that visit today, or like in my situation, it was for a visit a couple weeks ago that I hadn't even received the paper bill for yet. That stuff happens. And I think, unfortunately, it happens more than people acknowledge or more than people would like to give credit for. And here's the thing again, at Rally, we're not judging you. We don't care where your dollars go. I mean, we'd prefer for them to be, legal things. But other than that, we don't care. Here's the thing that I want to just really drive home this point is what I don't want to happen is I don't want to have a conversation with an 80-year-old investor and tell them, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Client, unfortunately, I don't think that this financial plan is going to work for you anymore. And when that happens, it is almost always because an expense came up in retirement that they weren't planning for. Buying new cars, putting a new roof on your house, paying for loved ones to get education or healthcare expenses, or now I need long-term care or even memory care. So let's just all do everyone a favor, put all the cards on the table. What are things I think I'm going to have to pay for in retirement? And really make sure before you pull the plug on actually retiring that you have a plan for that. We have access to so much data on projected cost of what we think things could cost. Again, we don't have a crystal ball, but we have historical data and we can study patterns and say, hey, I think in general, you're probably going to pay for these things in retirement. Let's look at that before you pull the trigger. Because here's the thing, you can do something at 55 to 70 years old. You can say, hey, maybe I might work another year. Hey, maybe I might put a little bit more in my 401k. Hey, maybe I might not buy that new car the day after I retire. Those are easier adjustments to make when you're young enough to do something about it. You're not going to want to make that adjustment when you're 80 plus years old, because by then you just want to enjoy the life that you've worked hard for and that you've saved for. So before you really decide, just make sure you've thought about the hidden risk in retirement and things that you need to account for. We'd be happy to help you with that. Pretty straightforward projections we can use and kind of walk through those things. So if you have questions or you need help with that, let us know.